So how does something like this happen in America? I guess the real question is, aren't we lucky it wasn't worse? I'll explain. Let's talk about it. Here we go.
Let's go.
You know, I was having major FOMO Saturday, not being at the White House Correspondents Association dinner. I had posted a video. I was at my son's flag football game getting poured on. It was just pouring rain. Came home and turned the TV on and saw what you saw. And immediately I started thinking about the Washington Hilton Hotel and how it's this massive hotel and you've got rooms there and guests staying there and people coming in, going in and out, in and out, in and out. And the only screening was actually in the ballroom itself for the people that were going inside the ballroom. Otherwise, you were free to go throughout that hotel and go anywhere you wanted. And it occurred to me after, I kept thinking, man, like, thank God some lunatic didn't load bombs into suitcases and just checked into a room. I mean, the shooter, this guy, he checked into a room the day before at the Washington Hilton. He was next door to the Daily Beast editor. His room was next to the Daily Beast editor's room. So, I mean, thank God it wasn't people with bombs loaded into suitcases. There's a parking garage there. Real questions about the entire issue of the Secret Service and everything like this. So a couple things to unpack here. First of all, the perimeter concept worked. I mean, they stopped the guy before he was able to breach the perimeter to get near the president to be able to shoot him. So thank God for that. Going forward, you have to ask the question of, can we do events like this at hotels where there's rooms and you can't sweep every room and you can't check every piece of luggage and you can't check every single person that enters and exits the hotel? Or should you, and can you, and is that practical, and is that even doable? Which brings us to the ballroom. President has said we got to have this ballroom. A ballroom would be secure, 7-inch thick glass, and obviously it's at the White House, so it's going to be the most secure facility. And you've got the president, the vice president, the cabinet there. You've got basically the entire executive branch of government there for the most part. So it would be very secure. True. Yes, absolutely. And I'm all for the ballroom. Gosh, I hate to think in this day and age, presidents can't go out and leave the White House and go to events and go to rallies and get outside the bubble of DC. And you can't bring the ballroom with you. And that's the other problem. But we are living in an age of, I mean, I don't want to say it's increased violence necessarily. We've had presidents killed before. I mean, President Reagan was shot, almost died right at the Washington Hilton. In fact, John Hinckley, of all people, came out today and said they should stop using the Washington Hilton for events. Bad things happen. Yes, John Hinckley, the man who shot and almost killed President Ronald Reagan, came out and said the Washington, D.C. Hilton is not secure. The White House Correspondents Dinner shooting proves it. Hinckley, of all people, coming out and saying that. But I hate this idea that we have to keep presidents so far away from the people going forward because of all the nuts and the lunatics that are out there. And yeah, political violence is nothing new. I mean, sadly, our country, we've seen this before. But with this president in particular now, this is the third major attempt on his life that we know of, at least. We had Butler, then we had what happened outside his golf course in Florida, and then we had this. And I think part of the reason why is because of the rhetoric, and I'm all for heated political rhetoric. I think heated political rhetoric is healthy for a Republican. It's important. But there's a difference between heated political rhetoric and calling somebody Hitler and saying he's a Nazi. And I mean, I can play you clip after clip after clip of them calling Trump Hitler over the years. And you've heard them, and we have one little compilation we are going to play. But the point is that there's a difference. It's one thing to have real vicious policy disagreements and fights. And the founders used to do it all the time. They'd call each other bastards and atheists. And yeah, they had a good sense of humor about it. And a lot of it was done in cartoon form. But this level of saying he's Hitler, and in the case of this manifesto that was written by the shooter, he calls him a pedophile and a rapist and a traitor. A traitor. And a traitor is key here too. So you're going to get somebody who's off his rocker, and it's like whether you blame the gun or you blame the thinking of the day, it's still on the individual. But I've long said If I could go back in time and kill Hitler, I would. I think most people would. When you raise it to that level of this man is the Fuhrer or is going to be the Fuhrer, or you raise it to that level, you almost make these people who have no lives, no sense of self, no sense of decency, and clearly off their rocker, thinking that they're on the side of history and they're on the side of right. They're doing the right thing. They're doing something to save humanity. And that's the problem with this rhetoric that the Democrats keep throwing at Trump, using the N word, using the H word, and the traitor word too. There's always going to be a reason to inspire a nutbag. I mean, Hinckley was inspired by Jodie Foster. So I'm not going to say and be naive enough to think that heated political rhetoric is A, the cause necessarily, and B, that it should be, that it's going to go away. It's never going to go away. It's never going away in the history of our country. But there's a difference. There's a difference in heated political rhetoric, saying your policies are destroying America versus you're Hitler. There's a huge difference with that. And I think everybody has to see that. The other point, too, is that when you're dealing with a situation like the White House Correspondents Association dinner, where you had Democrats and Republicans coming together, you had the press corps coming together. It was supposed to be a night of unity. And I got to give the president credit. I thought his comments that night and speaking from the White House after the event was very smart to do, calling for unity, calling for people to tone down the temperature. I think all of that was spot on, and the president deserves real great credit. He set the tone right, absolutely. And then he was calling members of the press to check on them. Like Jonathan Karl from CBS, ABC News said he got a call from the president the next morning, checking on him, seeing how he's doing. And then, of course, the president would go on and talk to Norah O'Donnell from 60 Minutes, and we have some clips of that, which we're going to play you throughout the day as well. He's doing court. Susie Wiles is going to be talking about the Secret Service and their protocols going forward. Look, there's lots of mistakes that happened here. I mean, I could spend the whole show doing a clip-by-clip analysis of there's one scene where you've got officers just kind of leaning against the wall. There's another when the dais itself where you see them pull J.D. Vance up and grab him off the stage while the president is still on the dais. Trump is standing by the Secret Service, but that's what you would expect. Our friend Susan Crabtree, who's written extensively about the Secret Service, has said that before, that, yeah, White House leadership has to say the Secret Service is doing everything right. But let's face it, he almost died in Butler, and then this situation here, this could have gone a whole lot worse. I mean, this could have been a disaster of epic proportions if it was more than one shooter, if it was a shooter that decided to bring explosives. It could have been, I mean, you could have brought a whole entire hotel to the ground. So you got to start thinking about these things going forward now. You got to start now applying that into the forward trajectory of White House event planning with the president, who has to campaign. I mean, this president doesn't because he's not running again. But for most presidents who are in their first term, they want a second term, they have to hit the road and they got to campaign and they got to go speak at dinners, and a lot of those dinners are at hotels, and a lot of those hotels have ballrooms and rooms above those ballrooms where guests stay. Do you have to screen every guest going forward? Do you have to screen every piece of luggage? Do you have to make it so that these doors, this guy used apparently a stairwell to evade the authorities, to be able to, do you have to make sure every stairwell is blocked off? Do you have to have cops at every single entrance and exit? You have to basically turn that hotel, wherever that event is, into a fortress, into a virtual fortress. I want to put a graphic up for you on the screen. It's from Bill Melugin from Fox News. So he kind of broke down his thoughts on security. And I'm going to share this with you because I think it's important to set the context of what I'm talking about here. And there was a time in this country when presidents used to invite people into the White House and they would receive visitors, just the average American off the street. You know, Lincoln, if you saw the movie, would just welcome people in, and that was a thing. Then presidents would walk around and they would talk to people, and obviously times change, and times are about to change again. And I think as time goes on, the American people are going to see less and less of their president, except for on television. So let me read you Melugin's thoughts here. My thoughts on the security of the White House Correspondents' Dinner. The first exterior security for me was on the street outside of the hotel. I flashed my ticket and was waved through in 1 second. My name was not checked against any list. I showed no ID. I was not patted down and did not go through a metal detector. I probably could have shown a ticket from a prior year or a fake one, as they barely looked at it. I don't know who that exterior security was. They were guys in suits. From that point, I walked into the hotel with no further security check, and I walked down to the Fox pre-party where there were multiple ballrooms that were absolutely packed with attendees. Still did not go through any security at that point. Hypothetically, if I had hidden an explosive in my shoe or my jacket, I would have had no problem getting into one of those ballrooms. Only once it was time to get into the main ballroom for the dinner did we pass through magnetometers, empty our pockets, and get a pat down. Even that checkpoint was just outside of the dinner room. Two things can be true at the same time. Secret Service reacted quickly to an active armed threat and prevented the threat from getting into the ballroom, but the security leading up to that point, in my opinion, appeared to be lacking severely. So that's the thing. He breached the first perimeter, didn't breach the second perimeter, which is the ballroom, and they were able to get the president and the cabinet and the Speaker of the House and everybody out of there. But to Melugin's point, I mean, thank God this guy didn't have explosives laced to him. Thank God he wasn't with a team of people who were in the rooms above that had suitcase bombs. Thank God there wasn't a car bomb underneath the hotel there were a million things that show you, and the shooter mocks the security in his manifesto saying, Iran could have easily penetrated this and killed the president if they wanted to. So you think about that going forward, and then you have to say to yourself, okay, so we get this ballroom, and it's going to be a state-of-the-art ballroom at the most secure place in the country, which is the White House. I've been to the White House many, many times. You can't get close to the White House anymore. But I remember when I was in college and some guy was walking up Pennsylvania Avenue and shot up the White House press room. And that's when they decided shortly after that, they were going to close Pennsylvania Avenue down. So the White House itself is a gigantic fortress. And you hate to think to yourself, presidents can't ever leave the White House, but they have to. They can't not leave the White House. They have to campaign. There was a time in our nation's history where presidents didn't campaign. It was seemed to be gauche. They didn't do that. They would send out surrogates to campaign. They would not themselves go out and do it. But nowadays you have to. And you got to go to rallies, and you got to go to state fairs, and you got to go to these dinners and everything else. And if you don't do those things, you're giving your opponent a massive advantage. Like, let's say, for example, you're the incumbent president. You're running for re-election. And they've decided you can't go to state fairs anymore. You can't go to these dinners that are attached to hotels. But your opponent is maybe just a governor. He's not the national command authority. So he goes to these things. He's got a huge advantage over you. From a political perspective, you see what I mean? So yeah, it's easy to say an incumbent president who's not running for re-election, keep him in the ballroom, move these events to the ballroom, and ensure his safety. Absolutely. Definitely. But what about when the guy's up for re-election? And what about the people that are the two major political party candidates who are up for election in an open year like 2028, for example, when we're not going to have a sitting president running for election? The two major party candidates, one of the major party candidates who was a former president was almost killed in Butler, PA. That's Donald Trump, obviously. They didn't treat him like the national command authority. And obviously a shooter was able to get on the roof. Now, there's all kinds of questions around that. And I could do a whole show on that. And we've done shows on that. We've talked about Thomas Crooks and how that failure was able to occur and the sheer incompetence. And I'm still not convinced that he didn't have help. And I think it's crazy we don't know more about him to this day. And there's a lot of things. Now, that said, I'm not saying Trump staged his own assassination attempt. There are people suggesting this event was staged, just so you know, if you haven't heard that. There's even the latest one right now is Weijia Jiang, who is the president of the White House Correspondents Association. There's a viral picture of her, and she's got her hand over her mouth. And all these people are captioning it and saying, how does she look shocked right before the shots are fired? And then she reposted that and said, because I was reacting to Oz the Mentalist and a trick that he just performed, which Oz the Mentalist told Jonathan Karl. The trick was he guessed Karoline Leavitt's baby's name. So Karoline Leavitt, the White House press secretary, is pregnant, and Oz guessed the name of the child. And that was what Wei Zhang said she was reacting to. But of course, conspiracy theories are just naturally in this day and age going to take root, and they're just going to grow and they're going to blossom. And that's just the way it is. And, nothing's going to ever change that. But immediately people started saying Trump staged this to get his ballroom. Well, that's stupid because A, the ballroom's going to happen regardless. B, I don't know how you convince a Democrat to fly from California, evade authorities, do all these things to help you get a ballroom. Like, I don't know how that process works. I don't know how you reach that guy. And then I don't know why the guy doesn't just come forward and say that, like, all right, well, it turns out, yeah, I think he's a pedophile and a rapist and a traitor, but also I wanted the money because they bribed me so that I could stage this so that he could get his ballroom. Like, it's the stupidest, dumbest conspiracy theory in the world, and yet it's actually being peddled out there by people like Anna Navarro on The View. Here's Anna Navarro on The View, not on The View, but she's of The View. This is what she said.
It's odd to me that in a place that is teeming with Secret Service, with Washington, D.C. police, with all sorts of law enforcement, this could happen. But also, I think people jump to that conclusion that it is staged because Trump lies. He lies constantly, daily, and pathologically. So people do not trust and do not believe anything Trump says. His lips are moving. The likelihood is he is lying. Also, this is a man who has mastered the art, forget the art of the deal. He has mastered the art of distraction. Anytime he finds himself in hot water, his numbers right now are down in the basement. His Iran war is incredibly unpopular. People are pissed as hell at the price of gas and the price of everything going up. And so people look at this and say, oh my God, is he trying to distract us again? Because that is what he does, right? He posts crazy things and he does crazy things and says crazy things to distract us from the Epstein files, to distract us from his horrible numbers, to distract us from the failures and incompetence of his administration.
You know why people think that? Because they're freaking crazy. That's why. The reason why people think this was staged is because they're batshit crazy. All right? That's the bottom line. Sorry, earmuffs. That's the bottom line. That's the only way you could think this was staged, is if you're nuts. There's no way you get a guy who was a teacher of the year in California to come cross country and then go in and could have been killed because he's in on it with Trump to try to help Trump's approval ratings go up, and yet somehow that's not going to come out. Like, you got to really have a freaking screw loose to think that Trump was able to stage this. Really. She's not the only one, by the way. Not the only one. This is Raja Krishnaturthi on CNN. I don't think I nailed that pronunciation. But
nailed it. Great job.
Nailed it. And this is a member of Congress from Illinois' 8th District, Congressman Krishna Mushamar. Is that better? Did I get it right that time?
I think statistically, if we keep saying it a different way, one of them's got to be right.
No, not necessarily. We just keep blowing it the entire show. Krishnamurthy. There you go. Krishnamurthy. All right. Take a listen.
There's tremendous, as you can understand, concern given the threat levels that are going up in part because of the president and now 3 assassination attempts on him, his very low approval ratings, which unfortunately fuel a lot of disaffection.
Now, understand something, and that is that Donald Trump's low approval ratings led to him staging an assassination attempt on himself involving a guy who also wrote a manifesto about calling Trump a racist and a pedophile and a traitor. Think about that. Just chew on that for a moment, if you would, for me. Chew on that for a moment and think of how nuts that is. Isn't it more likely that this guy heard years and years of Democrats spewing their hatred for Donald Trump and his supporters and Republicans and calling him Hitler and calling him a fascist? Isn't it more likely that maybe that's what this was versus Donald Trump staging this to get a ballroom or to bring up his poll numbers or to make sure that nobody eats any of the food at the White House Correspondents Association dinner or whatever other crazy lunatic conspiracy theory trying to starve the press, whatever else you think of? Isn't it more likely that this is the reason? Cut one.
Let me ask you tonight, do you think Donald Trump is a fascist?
Yes, I do.
This is what kicking the shit out of fascism looks like.
Try to prevent the spread of the lawlessness and the fascist chaos that's been unleashed against us.
So when we say Donald Trump is a fascist, fascism, a huge component of fascism is uniting racism, bigotry, a form of racist nationalism.
We are now living in a fascist dictatorship.
We are worried about potential rise of fascism in this country. We're worried about our democracy falling to an authoritarian and potentially fascist form of government.
Not only to roll over to Donald Trump's will, but to roll over our democracy and allow him to take over this country as a fascist dictator.
When fascism isn't just coming, it's already here.
The former chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Mark Milley, said, "No one has ever been more dangerous to this country than Donald Trump, and he is a fascist to his core."
I mean, there's a lot more. I mean, I could play you more montages. And Karoline Leavitt addressed that earlier today at the White House press briefing when she was talking about the political rhetoric and the violence. And they've been posting a lot of this of them calling Trump Hitler and saying he's a fascist and saying he's a Nazi and they're Nazis. And, you think of what the district attorney of Philadelphia, Larry Krasner, said, we will, about ICE agents. So we will hunt you down like we hunted down the Nazis. It's that level of rhetoric that is way crazier than just simply saying, like, I disagree with you on policy A. Like, it's okay to have policy disagreements and divisions. It's even okay for that rhetoric to get heated and ugly and nasty. It's not the same thing as calling somebody a fascist and thinking that you might be on the side of like you're Captain America. You're going to defeat Hitler. You're risking your life to take out the Fuhrer. Because if you read this whack jobs manifesto, he apologizes in advance to the hotel people, to the people that handled his luggage, to the people that the innocent people. He talks about how he's going to use buckshots to minimize the damage. Like, he thinks he's on the side of right here. This lunatic who wanted to kill the president and members of his administration thought he was doing the right thing. That's what happens when you continuously say Donald Trump is the Fuhrer. I've had this conversation with you before, and I've said it's the philosophy 101 question. As soon as you get into philosophy class in college, which I was a minor in that, in political philosophy, and if you had a time machine, would you go back and kill baby Hitler? And it's a very, very funny deleted scene in Deadpool 2, where he goes back in time and has to debate killing baby Hitler, and it's hysterical. But it's a philosophical question. But I think most of us would agree that if we could go back in a time machine and kill adult Hitler, we would do it. Like, sign me up. I'll go back and do it. And we look back at the people who tried to kill him, and we go, those people were heroes. Like Valkyrie, they made a movie about him. Tom Cruise played Valkyrie, and he's a hero. He tried to kill Adolf Hitler. And that guy is revered as a hero because he tried to take out Hitler, and they made a major Hollywood movie. So if you're off your rocker and you got a screw loose and you keep hearing this political rhetoric over and over again, and you think you're doing the right thing, which is why in his manifesto, this teacher of the month, I said teacher of the year earlier, is teacher of the month. This teacher of the month is apologizing to all the innocent people that he may be putting in harm's way here as he takes out this pedophile, rapist, traitor. And you know what's crazy too? And this is the big story of the hour, brought to you by Dr. Mike Veneria, Veneria Dental. Go see him today for your perfect smile. 2 locations to serve you, Cinnaminson and Woodbury, veneriadental.com. You know what's crazy too? Is the president had to sit there with Norah O'Donnell as she reads from the manifesto to the president's face. Now, I don't think there's any reason for this. I really don't. I honestly, I've listened to this clip, and the only thing I could think of is that Norah O'Donnell just knows that this is something that I think anybody in that situation hearing this would feel horrible about hearing it. Actually, you know, before I play that, since it was brought up today at the White House press briefing, before the White House Correspondents Dinner Saturday night, they had a pre-White House Correspondents Dinner. I didn't realize that. Was that, Jared, was that considered the lesser Correspondents Dinner? Is that what that one was?
This was the both Kimmel and Colbert on their shows Thursday night faked it as a Trump won't let us tell Trump jokes at the Correspondents Dinner,
okay.
so we're gonna tell them. And there was a baby Hitler they called Stephen Miller. Kimmel had one that was Stephen Miller is. It seems like baby Hitler was sent back to kill all of us. Was the one of those jokes? I don't have that one ready.
Okay.
So it
wasn't an actual event. It was
they put it out as the real they called it the alternative White House Correspondents Dinner, is what they were calling it.
All right, so this is the quote-unquote joke. I'm using air quotes here if you're not watching on YouTube. If you are, please hit that subscribe button if you would, please. Thank you. And if you are listening on the radio and you're wondering, how do I listen or watch the podcast? It's just the Rich Zeoli podcast. It's on YouTube and every podcast platform. This is the quote-unquote joke that Jimmy Kimmel told.
Our First Lady Melania is here. Look at Melania, so beautiful. Mrs. Trump, you have a glow like an expectant widow.
Okay. Now, earlier today, Karoline Leavitt condemned that, and Melania Trump condemned it too, and actually called on ABC to fire him over that joke. And it's a sick joke. It's not, I mean, it's not a joke. Like, it's sick. It's just, there's nothing funny about it. It's disgusting to think, knowing that the president of the United States, whether you're Republican or Democrat, I mean, as Americans, we should all agree, if our president is killed, it's bad. Like, it's bad. It's bad for America. It's bad for America's standing in the world. It's bad for our enemies think that they can succeed. It could throw the world balance off. It could throw the world into chaos, even more so than it already is. That's all of these things. It's not good for the president of the United States of America, Republican or Democrat, to be assassinated. I feel like that's something most reasonable people can agree on. I know there's not much we can agree on these days, but that's something we should all agree on. It destabilizes the world order. If the world's only remaining superpower, free superpower anyway, I should say, can have its elected leader, elected by its people, killed, then that says a lot to the world. And it says a lot to the bad guys, and it says a lot to would-be bad guys. And then you don't know what other ramifications could be there. So, and for Jimmy Kimmel, who already saw himself in hot water after making his senseless Charlie Kirk quote-unquote joke about Charlie Kirk dying, and then he comes out with his fake tears and I would never joke about a young man dying and blah, 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 and I'm so sorry, and blah, blah, and then to make that joke about Trump dying, and Trump almost did die, and there were 2 assassination attempts on him, it shows you why. And then they actually used B-roll of Melania in the video. So if you're watching, you could see Melania's face there as he makes that joke, as if she's in the room. It's sick is what it is. I mean, and this is why we talk about these guys are no longer comedians. They have such a disdain and hatred for Trump in their heart, and it comes through all the time, that it doesn't have any sense of humor about it whatsoever. And then you get a deranged lunatic who thinks, I'm doing the right thing here. I'm on the side of right. Before I read you the before I play you the clip of Norah O'Donnell, and I want you to hear this. I really do. I think it's important to hear this. I just want to thank our great sponsor, and that is the beautiful Grand Hotel of Cape May, New Jersey. I've had a bunch of people reach out to me and say, Rich, are you going to do live shows at the Grand Hotel this year? Yes. I just don't have any dates for you yet. But don't wait for me. You got to make your plans now for the summer, okay? Like their Memorial Day special. If you book a midweek stay for 4 or more consecutive nights, Thursday night is free. That's right, free. You and your family and friends can enjoy a variety of guest rooms, suites, and townhomes while you enjoy a variety of activities. They always have great fun going on, live music, events. They've got magicians and people making balloon animals for the kids. And they have the outdoor heated saltwater pool and the indoor heated saltwater pool. And these are big, big pools. Like I always joke that a lot of the hotels in these shore towns, the pools are like bird baths, but not at the Grand. It's Olympic size and it's heated and there's a pool bar right there. And you love Hemingway's restaurant, amazing food, the freshest steaks and seafood anywhere you can find, plus handcrafted cocktails. And the kids will love just the game room and being there with you. Or you can have a romantic weekend getaway. And if you want to do an event, the Grand is the perfect place to have a wedding, baby shower, bridal shower, family reunion, corporate event. Please go and make your reservations today. Always book direct with them by going to grandhotelcapemay.com, grandhotelcapemay.com. So here's Norah O'Donnell reading this to the president, part of this lunatic's manifesto. Take a listen.
The so-called manifesto is a stunning thing to read, Mr. President. He appears to reference a motive in it. He writes this, quote, administration officials, they are targets. And he also wrote this, I am no longer willing to permit a pedophile, rapist, and traitor to coat my hands with his crimes. What's your reaction to that?
Well, I was waiting for you to read that because I knew you would, because you're horrible people, horrible people. Yeah, he did write that. I'm not a rapist. I didn't rape anybody.
Do you think he was referring to you?
Excuse me. I'm not a pedophile. You read that crap from some sick person. I got associated with all stuff that has nothing to do with me. I was totally exonerated. Your friends on the other side of the plate are the ones that were involved with, let's say, Epstein or other things. But I said to myself, I'll do this interview and they'll probably, I read the manifesto, he's a sick person, but you should be ashamed of yourself reading that because I'm not any of those things.
Mr. President,
and
these
I was
are
never,
the gunman's words.
Excuse me. You shouldn't be reading that on 60 Minutes. You're a disgrace. But go ahead. Let's finish the interview.
The other thing that he wrote in
You're
the
disgraceful.
It is disgraceful to read that to the president. It is. And she did it for clicks, and she did it for. And I wanted to play that for you because put yourself in his shoes for a second. Imagine having to hear that about yourself. Like this guy tries to kill you, and you sit there and but he doesn't pull a Katie Porter. He doesn't get up and storm off. He doesn't end the interview. He says you're a sick person, but let's keep going. And they keep going. And the interview continues. And that's the thing. And I say that because like I always try to be empathetic in my life, to think about what somebody else is going through. And I'm thinking to myself, man, they tried to kill this man 3 times. They put this guy through hell with Russiagate and everything else, tried to get him out of the job. They impeached him twice, went after him, tried to stop him from becoming president in the first place. In no way am I saying is the man perfect, but what I'm saying is then you got to sit there the day after you're almost killed again and listen to the reporter read you from a lunatic's writings about you. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm like, that's, and what is the journalistic value in that? Getting the president's reaction to what a lunatic thinks about him? Is that what it is? Like, that's the journalistic value here. Let's get the president's reaction to what a lunatic thinks about him, a lunatic who would travel across the country and take shots at innocent people and try to kill the leader of the free world, for lack of a better term, the president of the United States of America, and bring down our government to get his reaction. Okay.
Can you imagine, Rich, them reading Reagan to Reagan? Like, what do you have to say to Jodie Foster?
Yeah.
For the writings of, like, when I saw that clip originally, that's all I was thinking was, like, crazy guy thinks Jodie Foster will love him if he assassinates president. Like, why would you ask Reagan about that? Like, it's not like crazy. Well, I can't imagine that scenario and them doing that to anybody else but this president.
They wouldn't. Yeah, no, you're right. Yeah, Mr. Reagan, I'm going to read you this, dear Jody, I love you. I'm doing this for you. I hope you'll love me. Whatever Hinckley wrote. I mean, Hinckley himself admits he's a freaking whack job. So, like, he knows that. Hinckley, to his credit, knows Hinckley's nuts. Yeah, Mr. Reagan, Mr. President, what do you think of what Hinckley wrote here? But even with that, it was more of, I'm trying to impress Jodie Foster versus we're going to read you the writings of a guy who's going to savage your character. And I'm going to do this on national television. You're the president. You've agreed to sit down with me. You could talk to anyone. You're sitting down with me. Like, literally anyone. No one's going to not do the interview. So if you had decided you'd rather sit down with somebody on ABC versus CBS, they're not going to be like, nah, we're good. Like, we're going to pass. If you'd called up and said to George Stephanopoulos, hey, George, you're an unbiased journalist. I want to give you the first sit-down interview. I want to give you the first sit-down interview since the White House Correspondents. He's not going to turn around and be like, no, I'm not interested in that. So knowing that, you get the first interview with the President of the United States for 60 minutes, national audience. You get millions and millions of views. And you want the nation to see the look on his face as you read him the writings of a raving lunatic, to see his reaction. And then I love Norah O'Donnell's like, oh, you think he's talking about you? No, Norah, who else would he be talking about? You dumbass. I mean, like, who else would he be talking about? Oh, you think he meant you? No, Norah, he meant a guy who works down in the bowling alley, in the White House bowling alley. He meant that guy. So stupid. I mean, honestly, stupid. But that's, the total lack of respect they have for the president, for this president, for Donald Trump. I want to read you this too. This is or play this for you as well. And by the way, just so you know, as I mentioned to you, Karoline Leavitt had a briefing earlier today. They're going to have a meeting later this week. I think the suspect's in court, like right now as we speak, and maybe the DOJ is starting their press conference. I'm not going to break into it or anything like that. I mean, right now, I used to do that stuff on the radio all the time, and it would just eat into the whole show. But we'll obviously have full coverage of it for you tomorrow. But as of right now, as far as what security changes are going to happen going forward, when the president's not at the White House, whether or not they're going to designate these things national security events like they do the State of the Union, whether they're going to have a designated survivor behind. Karoline Leavitt reiterated today, nothing definitive yet. We're going to be looking into all of this later in the week. I think based on what Susan Crabtree's written, what Rich Staropoli, who is a former Secret Service agent who I've talked to a bunch of times, he's going to come on probably later in the week. He's been all over Fox News. I think they know that there were major Secret Service failures again, just like with Butler, just like with Trump's golf course in Florida. And they don't want to come out and say it. And I don't blame them, because these are the people that are protecting my life. So I don't want to be critical of them. I try to avoid being critical of people in my world who don't protect my life. You know what I'm saying? So you want to try to keep that level there. You're always hoping to bring out the best in people's performance. So you try to use positive, constructive feedback. So in this case, it'd be like, hey, this is not a criticism of you personally, but maybe next time we make sure that like thousands of people can't get within a couple 100 feet of the room where the president of the United States is going to be, and none of those people are screened, and maybe they could have weapons and bombs and worse. And maybe in the future we figure out a way to know who all those people are. Again, not a criticism, because you don't want them to not do their best.
You got to do it like a brainstorm, Rich. You're like, oh, hey, no fault. Let's make a list of all the ways we can help the president not get shot. Not pointing any fingers. Dry erase board. No idea is a bad idea. Let's just
whiteboard
all the
this.
different ways.
Let's whiteboard this.
Yeah.
And here, I'm going to use
fresh
this.
slate. I'm not saying anything bad happened. I'm not saying anything good happened. Let's just.
You get the trust moniker, okay? And when you hold this,
I get to talk.
And no judgment. No one judges, okay? Is his idea of having 500 bomb-sniffing dogs a dumb idea? For the purposes of this brainstorming session, no idea is a bad idea. Okay? Yes, Bob. What if we, the day before, build a moat around it and have guys on top with boiling hot oil, and they can throw it down on anybody who looks suspicious? Again, Bob, you don't have the conch. This is not your turn.
Bob said moat. I think moat is going up on the board. Does anybody think moat and boiling oil is a good idea? Thank you, Bob, for that. That's a good one, Bob. Moat. Rich, when you were talking before about the president in the ballroom and whatever, I was like, oh, if only there was a team, like a mobile team of people, and those people could go ahead of the president, okay? They could secure the location. They could set up magnetometer. They could be pats down, Bob sniffing. They could all go ahead of him. Then they could say it's safe, and then the president could come to that location. Huh?
Put it on the whiteboard.
Department that does security, right?
Put it on the whiteboard, okay?
Security, like a service. It could be a secret. Doesn't matter. We can keep but that service, they just secure those locations.
You mean like stairwells?
You could have a guy that looks for people on other rooftops. I don't know. Just spitballing. Put it on the whiteboard.
Put it on the whiteboard to be determined at a future date whether or not we need to do such things. Look, I mean, it's amazing that this could happen. And like I said, we're really lucky it wasn't even worse, because at a hotel with thousands of guest rooms and thousands of people, and clearly there was only one secure area. And yes, they got the guy after he breached that one perimeter, the first perimeter, and he wasn't able to get to the president himself, but they could hear the gunfire. The president could hear the gunfire. And again, they lift J.D. Vance up and they drag him off the stage. They don't immediately grab the president off the stage. It's very similar to Butler when he's able to put his fist up in the air and go fight, 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 and his head is exposed. And if there was a second shooter at Butler or a third shooter, his head is exposed right there. I mean, it becomes an iconic photo, but his life's in danger. Get him the hell off the stage. Physically drag him off the stage. And this is the other question: is he's a big guy. He's a very big guy, tall. I mean, he's 6'something, 6'4", 6'5". Like, you got to be able to drag him physically and get him the hell out of there. And they didn't do that. If you watch the video in slow motion, you can see that that's not the case. J.D. Vance is off the stage before the president is. Other people are off the stage before the National Command Authority is off the stage. So it's a problem. Here's the president again with Norah O'Donnell. There's a little bit more of this. Go ahead.
I mentioned that because, again, as his motive, and you brought this up, he had social media accounts that had anti-Trump and anti-Christian rhetoric.
You should read. Why don't you read all the anti-Trump? Why don't you read it? You just did, so why don't you read it?
Well, he had a lot of anti-Christian rhetoric. He was part of a group called the Wide Awakes. He had attended a No Kings protest in California.
No Kings. Yeah.
What did security tell you about what may have been his motives?
The reason you have people like that is you have people doing no kings. I'm not a king. What I am, if I was a king, I wouldn't be dealing with you.
Also at the dinner last night was your secretary, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Yeah. His sister, Carrie Kennedy, was there. They've both witnessed their father and their uncle be assassinated.
That's right.
Erica Kirk was there. The House Majority Leader, Steve Scalise, was there.
Yeah.
Political violence has touched so many people in that room. Is there something that you as president can do? What can be done to change the trajectory?
Well, you go back 20 years, 40 years, 100 years, 200 years, 500 years. It's always been there. People are assassinated, people are injured, people are hurt, and I'm not sure that there's any more now than there was. I do think that the hate speech of the Democrats, much more so, is very dangerous. I really think it's very dangerous for the country.
Yes, he's right. I mean, there has been political violence and we've lost presidents. We've lost presidents. We've lost presidents to assassins. And that was before we had this massive, massive multi-billion-dollar operation of Homeland Security that we have today. I mean, even just thinking in terms of a guy who was at the bar when he was shot, and it was Pinkerton, it wasn't even the Secret Service. You think of Butler, but in the time between even just JFK agents and the number of vehicles and the number of, and how the technologies change and mistakes. You see, so, I mean, whether, in terms of dollars, and we now have a roof on the car, we still don't think to put a cop by the stairwell so that a would-be shooter can't sneak perimeter. We don't think about that. See what I mean? So for all the money in the world and all the technology in the world, bad guys are still going to find a way. And I said this at the start of the podcast today, at the start of the show, and I'm saying it again now. As you look at the future, you have to start thinking about what can they accomplish if they're not just a lunatic. Like, this guy's a lunatic. He wasn't going to be able to do much. Thank God. Right? We got lucky here. This guy was off his rocker, and they were able to stop him, and they were able to save the president and save the government and save the country. And great. He was nuts. Now, Thomas Crooks was either the president was truly touched by divine providence, or Thomas Crooks missed by some kind of just sheer bad luck on his part, or it was a warning shot, or whatever it was. But I mean, Butler was as close as you get to blowing the head off of the major party presidential candidate. And major party presidential candidates have to do rallies. They have to be out at fairs. They have to be in public. They have to meet the voters, or they're not going to get elected. So what do you do about that going forward? And, I still have a lot of questions around how Thomas Crooks was able to get that lucky or that unlucky, depending on which perspective you're looking at, whether his perspective or the perspective of President Trump. Because, either President Trump got very, very lucky that day, was touched by the hand of God, or Thomas Crooks purposely was unlucky because maybe the whole thing was just to send a warning shot. It was never meant to kill him. It was always meant to make him be very afraid that we can get you. I don't know. There's not enough information. It's very hard for me to make any determinations other than I know the guy was incredibly skilled, and I know that he was apparently, and then there's nothing, like he never existed, like a ghost, which is still why I wonder if this was an inside job. He had help, if this was coordinated, and but this guy is different. This guy was just a nutbag who writes this manifesto and doesn't think he's going to come out of it alive, and storms in with a gun. But still, like, how that's able to happen in this day and age is freaking nuts. And then it doesn't help that you have the rhetoric of the left, where you've got lunatics like Steve Schmidt. So the Lincoln Project. All right, a couple lessons here. Number one, yes, I understand people drink alcohol at these things. My friend Dana Perino, and shameless plug, I was on her podcast today. So please, when you get a chance, download Perino on politics. We talked about this and a lot of other things on her podcast. She has a rule at these political events, corporate events, dinner parties, etc. One drink. That's it. All right. When you got your boss around or you've got the media, whatever, one drink and call it a day. All right.
Oof.
Don't do.
One less than the boss. That's what you do. Boss has
one
two,
less
you
than
have
the
one.
boss. Is that
They
your
have 3? You have 2. Yeah. It's one less. Than
okay?
Hers seems.
What
a
if the
little,
boss has better tolerance than you, though? Do you ever think about that?
That's on you. But for her, that's a long night. It was sipping one glass of wine for 4 hours.
Well, that's why she said to me, she said, I don't go to these things anymore because I have too much social anxiety. And, you know, she's got that one glass rule. So
oof, that's a tough rule.
I can only do those things if I am bombed. Like that's the only way I can do them.
Are you one more glass than the boss? You just got to stay one
I
ahead of him?
am 1/5 more than the boss. Okay.
Bottle ahead. Okay.
Yeah. I'm a bottle ahead of the boss. I love you, man. I love you, boss. Hey, let me get you another, you know. No, in all seriousness, I try very hard to maintain at least an appearance of sobriety. Steve, what's his name? Schmidt? That's his name, right? The guy that hates Trump.
Yeah, Steve Schmidt, the warning.
Yeah, right. He's not even trying to, I don't think he's capable of hiding it here. I think he's so crocked here. But this is after the shooting. So after the gunman opened fire, listen to this.
Is there a rhetoric problem? I mean, it's the third time you're trying to kill the president.
I think that there's one person beyond and above all others who's responsible for poisoning the rhetoric in America. That guy's name is Donald Trump.
So you're saying it's the president's fault that people keep trying to kill him?
No.
What do you mean by that? What do you mean by that?
What do you mean? What do I mean?
He poisoned, you say, I asked him, like, do we have a rhetoric problem? He said the president has done more to poison the rhetoric. I mean, the president's supporters are the ones shooting people. But they keep shooting him. It's not the other way around.
Federal agent shot 2 American citizens. They were called domestic terrorists. But again, these 2 things have no connection. He's an insurrectionist, the foremost domestic enemy of the Constitution and American history. He is a vile and disgusting man, a convicted sex predator, and likely a pedophile. And tragically, he's the president of the United States. So we'll have to endure through it. You have a good night.
You too. Thank you.
He's wasted. But it's sick, right? It's sick and vile, the stuff he says. And the stuff he's saying is the stuff that a lot of people were saying about Trump. I could play you. I'm not going to. I could play you all these reactions of people on TikTok who are sad today that Trump didn't get killed, just like after Butler. I could play you crazy people who think that this was staged. I could play you people who are going on about. There's this one guy I'm not going to. I don't want to give him publicity, but he's running for office and he owns a brewery and he's offering a free beer to anyone if they shoot Trump, if they kill him. So and he posts this whole thing about how almost had to give away a free beer, but I guess not today. Sick. I'm not going to give that guy publicity. I really want to choose who I give publicity to. It's a very popular show. I really just don't want to. But I wanted to play that for you because I just thought it was interesting how crocked he was. That's all. Really, more than anything, I just think because he just sounds so drunk.
Maybe rather than one drink less than the boss, one drink a night, maybe if you're bombed, don't talk to Matt Walsh on camera. Hey, let's do it the other way. If whatever Keith Olbermann's like, hey, Rich, do you have a second to talk? You're like, nope, not in this state. I don't. Just say no.
Well, it's funny that happened to me at the Democrat National Convention in Philadelphia when Media Matters came over, and you were there. And I don't know if you remember this or not, but you were like, and you gave me that.
Because we got some drinks. We were having a good time.
We had some drinks.
We saw
and
Megyn
the guy
Kelly, we saw a bunch of people.
Yeah. And it was the Media Matters guy came over. You gave me the
my instincts are pure. I got you.
And the guy's like, hey, you want to chat? I'm like, no, I'm good. I'm good. Good. Gotta go. Yeah, my hair. Gotta go set myself on fire over there. So,
Good call.
Yeah. It's crazy stuff. I want to share a little bit more about the manifesto with you. But before I do that, let me just thank our great sponsors. We continue along the show here. And I want to thank you as well. I really appreciate you being here. I appreciate you listening. And I appreciate you subscribing. So please do that. Okay. Subscribe. And if you would be kind enough to do that, that would be fantastic. But this winter has been brutal. And I think we're out of the woods. I feel like we're out of the woods. So now's the perfect time for you to reach out to Emmons Roofing and Siding for your spring renovations. Whatever you need on your roof, the shingles made in America, the windows and doors made in America, the siding made in America. And you get the Emmons guarantee, lifetime warranty on the roof, thanks to Owens Corning, lifetime warranty on the materials, lifetime warranty on the workmanship. That's the Emmons difference, and that's what you get with Emmons Roofing and Siding. So if you're looking for a contractor who can help you with repairs, if you want to, say, renovate your bathroom, kitchen. They just did my kid's bathroom. They did a fantastic job. Unbelievable. I mean, it looks so beautiful. Krista, the design expert, came over. She showed us all these different samples of tile and fixtures and stuff I would never think about. And they did a great job. So I really recommend them to you. They serve our whole region. I've used them for 12 years in 2 different homes. And all you got to do is go to emmonsroofing.com, emmonsroofing.com. Make sure you tell them I sent you. And don't wait. There are a lot of bad contractors out there. All right. And Emmons is never going to tell you need a new roof if you don't. But if you do, you will get the Owens Corning shingle, the best in the business with that lifetime warranty. Okay. emmonsroofing.com. So the shooter, his manifesto shows that he was willing to kill everybody at the Correspondents' Dinner. This is what I mean about how we got lucky here. We got lucky. This guy's a nutbag. But what if it wasn't just a nutbag? And what if it was a coordinated effort? And then what do we do going forward at a hotel like the Washington Hilton? Do we stop doing events there? And again, like I said, I said this on X the other day, I'm all for the ballroom. I want the ballroom, but the ballroom can't travel with the president. Presidents have to be out there, and presidents have to meet with people, and presidents have to see their constituents, and presidents have to campaign. So what do we do going forward? He explained that he chose buckshot rather than slugs in an effort to reduce collateral damage by mitigating penetration through walls. He wrote that he would only shoot Secret Service, Capitol Police, and hotel security if they shot him first, and pledged not to engage with other workers or guests. He said he would still go through most everyone here to get to the targets because he was no longer willing to permit a pedophile, rapist, and traitor to coat my hands with his crimes. In his manifesto, he describes himself as a Christian and notes that a possible objection to his actions is that as a Christian, you should turn the other cheek. He then offers a rebuttal, noting, quote, turning the other cheek is for when you yourself are oppressed. Turning the other cheek when someone else is oppressed is not Christian behavior. It is complicity in the oppressor's crimes. See what I mean in terms of you use the rhetoric over and over again, and it jumps from heated policy debates to this guy's a fascist, this guy's a pedophile, this guy's a rapist, this guy's a traitor, this guy's Hitler. And now this guy thinks he's on the side of right. He's doing the right thing because he's got a friggin' screw loose. Another possible objection he lists is yield unto Caesar what is Caesar's, a reference to Jesus' dictum that Christians must obey worldly authorities, and another seeming implication that Allen conceived of his attack in religious terms. He appeared to be a member of Christian groups and clubs during his time at Caltech. His father is an elder at the Grace United Reformed Church in California. Acknowledging that his manifesto might be his last words to family and friends, he writes, I would also like to extend my appreciation to a great many people since I will not be likely to be able to talk with them again unless the Secret Service is astoundingly incompetent, he says, before going on to criticize security. The level of incompetence is insane. I walk in with multiple weapons and not a single person there considers the possibility that I could be a threat. The security at the event is all outside, focused on protesters and current arrivals, because apparently no one thought about what happens if someone checks in the day before. You know, and that's what I've been saying throughout the show today, which is what I still can't freaking believe. It's like this hotel was open to the public. There were people in rooms. They could have checked in the day before and loaded their bags up with explosives. They could have come down the same stairwell he came down. What if this guy had been part of a team? What if this guy had been part of a group? What if this had been Iranian terrorists or something horrible like that? We keep getting lucky because for the most time, these people turn out to be nuts and lunatics who are pretty incapable of really getting to the president of the United States. But I always use the Michael Corleone rule. Michael Corleone said, if history has taught us anything, it's that anyone can be killed. So we're lucky that this was not worse. And we're lucky that this was not a coordinated effort to say, hey, he's going to be at the Washington Hilton. We can rent a block of rooms under different names, check in on different days with bombs, and then we could all, and there could be a teams of people. And again, they still may have been able to get the president out of there, but that's how they're going to have to start thinking about this stuff going forward, going from this point forward, that you could have an assassin checked into the hotel where the president is speaking. Because I think of CPAC, where they have it at the Gaylord Hotel in Maryland. It's a massive resort complex, massive. And the president comes and speaks typically to CPAC every year. They've moved it around. So I don't know when the last time it's been at the Gaylord has been, but I went a couple of years ago when Trump was speaking as a candidate, and it was at the Gaylord. And the point being is that it's a massive, massive hotel and complex. But this is where candidates have to be. They can't just stay in ballrooms, as secure as those ballrooms are. They can't just stay in the White House, as secure as the White House is. He sent the manifesto to his relatives 10 minutes before he attacked. He closed the missive with a reflection on the unpleasantness of presidential assassination. I want to throw up. I want to cry for all the things I wanted to do and never will. For the people who trust this betrays. I experience rage thinking about everything this administration has done. He signed the manifesto, cold force, friendly federal assassin Allen. Cold force, friendly federal assassin Allen. So he thought he was doing the right thing, because when you have people spewing the rhetoric that you're stopping Hitler, some guy with a screw loose is going to think he's Valkyrie. He's Valkyrie, and they'll be making a movie about him one day and how he saved humanity from the Fuhrer. And luckily, we got lucky with Hinckley being a nut. We got lucky with this guy being a nut. Trump got really, really lucky with Butler. Really lucky, probably divine providence there. But we got to think about the next time it's not a nut. It's not a Hinckley. It's not a friendly federal assassin. It's something far more nefarious. And that's the conversation that's going to be had this week. So more to come. Thanks for listening. Thanks for being here. Stay safe, and please tell your friends and your enemies to subscribe to the Rich Zeoli podcast. And thank you for listening.
Let's go.